Okay, the A45 AMG was a truly phenomenal car when brand new, and these days they seem like absolute bargains, offering insane levels of performance and all of the lovely image feels of an AMG or Mercedes for less asking price than that of a brand new WRX. But before you go racing out to buy one, there are a few issues. Let's get into this. Now, first of all, I need to apologise for potentially the really dodgy audio and my hair because it is bloody windy today and there's nothing we can do about the weather. Okay, now in this video, we're going to be focusing on the 2013 to 2018 A45 models. But the thing is, with the CLA and the GLA models being so closely related to this, plenty of what we're going to be going over will relate to those as well. And look, we're pretty sure you already know this, but just in case you don't, the A45 represents the performance-focused AMG-enhanced version of the A-Class models. And being an AMG model, it does pack some pretty serious firepower. We're talking a powerful 2-litre turbocharged engine, rapidly fast dual-clutch transmission, intelligent all-wheel drive system, and more electronics than your local Apple store. Basically, the A45 is the very best A-Class, and it has all of the bells and whistles. But the A45 also represents something of a genesis of a whole new type of car. See, before the A45 arrived, and ignoring a couple of specific German rivals just for a moment, small, insanely fast 4-cylinder turbocharged all-wheel drive pocket rockets generally came in the form of no-nonsense rally cars, just slightly re-equipped for the road. But the A45 wrapped these immense road-destroying abilities in some genuine luxury. So, it was a bit of a game changer. And speaking of changing the game, as good as the A45 initially was, in 2015 Mercedes released an updated and improved A45, featuring a subtle facelift, some new drive mode settings, improved features, and even more power for the engine, while the transmission, it received a going over as well. And it needed it, but we'll cover that later. Also, there have been a host of factory-fitted optional extras available, and many A45s these days may be modified, so on the used market, you're somewhat spoilt for choice. And look, obviously there are a whole bunch of other specific details about the A45, but if we were to go into them in this video, it'd take for bloody ever, it would get so boring. So instead of doing that, we have gathered all of that information and we've put it in our incredibly handy and totally free ReDriven cheat sheets over at ReDriven.com. Basically, think of it as the like the ultimate A45 buyer's guide. Okay, so what's it like to drive? Well, have you ever noticed that you very rarely see these things being driven sedately? I now understand why. I get it, because this thing just encourages you to drive like a complete dickhead. Like, it's so energetic and so nimble. It just, like, every time you see a gap in the traffic or any opportunity, any roundabout, any corner, it just makes you want to plant that right foot and fire it down the road. Or maybe that's just me. But the thing is, we can't do any of that because we're in Sydney, the traffic here is its normal horrendous self, and there's already like thousands of videos of A45s hammering around race circuits already, so why repeat all that? But the good news is, driving it in real world conditions like this at the speed limit is still a complete joy. It does feel like quite busy all the time, even in comfort mode, like I'm in comfort mode at the moment. There's no hiding that this is a performance car. It's still, yeah, it's again, that energetic personality makes itself very aware. Also, in any drive mode, it actually feels faster than what it is, and that's saying something because this is bloody rapid. Honestly, like everything, like through this roundabout, like everything feels so right. The steering, the brakes, even the sound, it just feels, yeah, right. Now, in terms of rattles in this car, because there are quite a few complaints about these interiors getting pretty rattly, not too bad. This one has over 110,000 Ks on it. It is this owner's everyday driver. It's had a hell of a life, and there are a few little noises here and there, but nothing horrendous. The other sound we need to talk about is this. All the pops and crackles and bangs and noises when you're on the rev limiter or just changing gear in general. Now, look, yes, all those rally car inspired sounds, they are a bit of fun. They are enjoyable when you're driving the car, but you've got to remember, anyone outside the car, they don't think you're cool, they think you're a wanker. Now, if you are in the market for one of these and you're test driving one, there's a couple of things that are really important to check. First of all, the throttle response should be instant and accurate. If not, it might be a dodgy camshaft sensor. Secondly, make sure you go through each gear, including reverse, and try to do it when the car's cold. The gear changes should be like this. Instant, no crunching, no grinding, no weird noises. if they do have crunching and grinding and weird noises, it's not a good sign. We'll explain more soon. So look, overall, what's the A45 like to drive? It is still bloody amazing. The way this thing covers ground, like really at any speed, is just phenomenal. But there are a few issues that we'll cover soon. Now, this is another area where the A45 was pretty groundbreaking, the interior. See, as I mentioned, prior to this car, and again, short of a couple of examples, cars that had this sort of driveline and this performance ability generally were based on like budget hatchbacks or really, really small cars. Like as amazing as a Mitsubishi Evo 6 is to drive, that interior is hardly premium. Although in the A45, okay, short of a few, scratchy plastics down here, overall, this still feels premium. Like even in terms of design, like it's starting to show its age a little bit, but only by kind of the ancillary things. The overall design still looks fantastic, but the screen's quite small, loads of buttons here. This kind of fake carbon fiber, whatever that is feeling its age a little bit, but it still feels good. Now, as far as wear and tear goes, as I mentioned earlier, this is this owner's everyday driver and he drives it a hell of a lot. Wear and tear, pretty good. On the steering wheel, it is sort of getting a bit glossy here, but in saying that, the Alcantara section, this can normally turn to crap. In this car, it's actually lasting quite nicely. The leather on the seats is getting a little bit glossy here and there, but not too bad. Door cards are pretty good shape. There are a few little scratches and marks on any sort of the silver or painted surfaces, losing a bit of paint here, but overall, considering the age, kilometers, and use this thing gets, good. But something to watch out for, because these seats are so heavily bolstered and because many of these cars' owners think that they're Vin Diesel or maybe they just suffer from a really bad spinal injury, they tend to sit like this when driving. The problem there is you get uneven wear marks where the body is actually pushing up against the seat. So yeah, just make sure that the wear on the seat bolsters is even. Also related to this stupid seating position, some owners put their hand up here, which doesn't make any sense because all the buttons and controls and even the paddle shifters are here. So obviously that's where your hands go, but they seem to be confused and put their hand up there, looking like a wanker. So like, just be careful of the amount of wear and tear up here, because if they're driving like that all the time, that's gonna wear out. Idiots. Anyway, look, as far as practicality up front goes, you've got a spot here that says clearly no smoking. Well done, AMG. No smoking. Smoking's gross. You've got two cup holders here with a removable little divider, which is pretty handy. You've got a spot here for more pens and stationery than your local office works, plus this slides back and forward. Also a spot for coins here, and I'm assuming maybe, I don't know, a pack of gum, small pack of gum there. You've got door bins, pretty decent sized glove box, and a spot for your sunglasses. And what does this owner wear? He wears Superdry. That's pretty cool. That's it for practicality up front. I think anything under the seats? No. There's a net here, a little door net here for my new Rode Lavalier Go microphone because the previous microphone broke. That's it for practicality at the front. Now in the back seat, I'm exactly 8 centimeters shorter than sexy Mercedes AMG Formula One team principal Toto Wolff. This is in my driving position, and it's interesting. I've got a decent amount of knee room and decent amount of foot room, but because this is quite low, it just kind of feels a bit claustrophobic in here. Also, you sit really upright. It's not the most comfortable of back seats. However, in saying that, these like contours are just lovely to touch, and you can give the driver or the passenger a little bit of a massage through the holes there. It's pretty handy. As far as wear and tear in this particular car goes, very, very good back here. The leather still feels really nice. The door cards look great. There's no scratches, or a couple of little scratches on the backs of the seats there, but they'll probably rub out. Great for wear and tear in the back of this car. In terms of practicality in the back seat, you've got a little storage cubby hole here with a power outlet. You've got your own air vents. You've got an armrest here with awesome, funky little flip out cup holders that are like, that's such a cool design. You play with them for days. And also some, stop it. And also door bins. Now, practicality in the boot is interesting. First of all, the actual aperture is a bit on the small side and a bit of a weird shape, so getting certain flat packs in from IKEA can be a challenge. The boot size is okay, not the best in its class, although you do get like a little port here in case you're a skier and not a snowboarder. Don't really understand that, but if you're a skier, you can get your skis through there. And also the seats, they do fold completely flat, so that's really good. Now, in terms of features, as you can see by the images, the A45 comes with lovely 19-inch alloy wheels. It's sitting lower to the ground on AMG performance-tuned suspension, and it features an aggressive AMG body kit. And this car is also fitted with the optional aero kit, which just includes a whole bunch of wings and stuff. And inside, we're talking the very top of the range A-Class here, so you can expect climate control, these unbelievably delicious and comfortable and supportive leather seats that are also heated. There's Alcantara and leather all over the place. There's carbon fiber trim, there's a sunroof, and so much more. Now, in terms of technology, look, again, guys, top of the line A-Class here. So you're going to get Mercedes Command infotainment system. That's going to be displayed via a screen that will increase in size depending on the update. You get Bluetooth connectivity, Apple CarPlay as standard from December 2015, and you might even get a superb sounding Harman Kardon Logic 7 12-speaker stereo. Safety-wise, well, how much safety would you like? ANCAP tested the less ferocious non-AMG A-Class that the A45 is based on back in 2013, and it scored a perfect 5-star rating. But even though that was ages ago, this thing is packed with safety gear. In fact, you get so much safety gear that we're going to cut to another voiceover, but this time it's going to be said by my German mate Jona.
Zu den Sicherheitsmerkmalen gehören 7 Airbags, Apps, Überwachung des toten Winkels, Aufmerksamkeit, Spurhalte- und Kollisionsvermeidungsassistent, ESC, Traktionskontrolle und vieles mehr sowie ab dem Update 2015 Collision Assist Plus.
Now again, guys, this is purely an overview because these things are so packed with features and technology and safety gear. So for all of the specific details, just go to ReDriven.com and check out that cheat sheet. And now we come to the depressing part of the video because while I personally love these things, they aren't without their gremlins. Although in saying that, in terms of the exterior, it's actually pretty good news. We couldn't find any what we would call really common issues or problems. The only dramas we could find when we were digging through the research were generally from really poorly maintained examples. We're talking things like cheap, dodgy body kits and I suppose the driving style that comes from people that do fit cheap, dodgy body kits. So yeah, if it's got one of those, just look for other signs of abuse as well. And speaking of things that you need to check out before buying really any used car, make sure you check out our Ultimate Used Car Buyer's Guide because honestly guys, it could save you thousands. Also, something that the owner of this particular car has pointed out to us, don't overfill it because the fuel ends up going into the carbon canister, which therefore needs replacing, and the entire car will just smell like petrol. Also, and this will depend on where you live, if you're in a hot climate like here in Australia, the badges can come off. Like this one's fallen off and these are all really, really loose. Not good. Also, thanks to being exposed to extreme sunlight, this panel here is starting to kind of fade and get a bit cracked and gross. Now inside, unfortunately, there are a few dramas. As I mentioned earlier, there are reports of lots of rattles forming in here, and especially from these air vents. Now, next up is the air conditioning. There are loads of reports that the air conditioning can have some major issues. If you're testing one of these or you're looking at buying one of these, make sure the air conditioning works. Look, best case scenario, it might just be like a blown fuse or maybe a resistor, but worst case scenario, it might require the air conditioning to be completely replaced, and that will cost a fortune. Then there are reports that the MMI screens can just glitch out or completely fail. Fixing this will depend on what the problem is. We've heard everything from just like a software update fixes it, but there have been reports that owners have had to replace the entire system. Now, in the second row of these pre-facelift models, make sure you check that there's any signs that the floor has been damp. The problem is some of the drainage holes can get clogged and the water builds up in the footwells of the rear seat, and it just ends up smelling like wet dog. It's gross. Also, if you haven't already and you're enjoying our content, can you please hit the like, subscribe and bell buttons and share our content amongst your mates? Because honestly, just doing those simple things, it just helps us make more of these videos for you. Okay, now mechanically, what goes wrong with the A45? I'd love to tell you, but I definitely can't because I'm not a qualified mechanic. But you know who is a qualified mechanic? It's Jim.
The petrol 2-litre turbo in these things is an absolute powerhouse. And a fun fact, in its day, it was the most powerful factory 2-litre turbo you could get. But with great power comes great responsibility. And if you want it to last, you have to service it a lot, at least every 5,000 kilometres. Because making that much power from an engine of this size does put a lot of strain on everything. And sooner or later, if it's not looked after, everything can break. One of the most common and expensive problems with these engines is turbo failure. And it fails basically from lack of oil. The turbo oil feed line has a restriction in it, and without enough oil, the turbo fails. They do have a number of cooling system issues, especially leaks from the water pumps and thermostat housings. Now, some say it's because of extreme engine bay temperatures that is the cause of the engine bay plastics. Things like cooling system plastics, PCV plastics, and inlet tract plastics. But the reality is these problems don't occur any more in this car than any other late model Mercedes. The DSG transmissions and drivelines, look, there are a lot of reports of shuddering, harsh shifting and weird clunks. That can be a software related problem or a more sinister internal mechanical issue. But either way, if the car is out of warranty, any problems in the transmission are going to be very expensive. There are also a lot of reports of the rear differentials failing. Again, another very expensive repair. It's worth mentioning too that even driven normally, these things do wear lower control arms and they wear tyres and brakes pretty badly, and even more so if you're going to track it. The takeaway from this is basically they are a very complex and highly strung car, and any car that fits that description is going to have complications.
Also, unfortunately, these have received quite a few recalls. So if you are in the market for one, make sure those recalls have been seen to. Currently here in Australia, the very cheapest A45s are asking around about 35,000 bucks, which is around about the same price as a brand new Hyundai i20N. The most expensive A45s of this generation are asking around about $75,000, which is around about the same price as a brand new Honda Civic Type R. Which then obviously begs the question, do you buy a used AMG or a brand new Honda or Hyundai? Let us know in the comments. Now, in terms of fuel consumption, Mercedes claim a fuel consumption figure of 6.9 litres per 100 kilometres, which according to some owners is possible, but according to most other owners is completely impossible. It all comes down to the weight of your right foot. This particular A45, which Monday to Friday is driven sensibly in traffic and Saturday and Sunday driven not so sensibly away from traffic, is seeing a figure of 12.3. But after all of that, should you buy one? Okay, so if you should buy one, it really comes down to who owned it before you. If the original owners are mature and financially sound people who simply bought an A45 because they just had to have the very best of the small Mercedes models, and they're quite possibly even unaware of the A45's incredible performance abilities, or they are genuine AMG fans that just clearly have adored their pride and joy A45, it's a yes, because chances are it has been serviced regularly and looked after by professionals. However, if the previous owners are just immature potential hoons who have thrown themselves into immense financial debt to buy or lease a fancy AMG purely to scare their mates with launch control, or they seem hell-bent to piss everyone off within earshot via the car's pops and crackles and bangs, it's a no. Do not buy an A45 off one of these dickheads. As utterly brilliant as these cars are when they're cared for, plenty out there have been abused, and unfortunately, financial corners may have been cut, as many owners, they know that they're just going to get rid of the car the minute the lease is up. Yes, the A45 can still be a brilliant thing, but just be bloody careful because they can also turn into a complete nightmare. So guys, what do you think? Good thing? Waste of money? Good? Bad? Let us know in the comments. See you next time. GLA and CLA 45s being so closely related to this, there's a few things on that. I've gone blank. But with the CLA and the GLA models being so closely related, I can't speak today. Here we go. This is the one. The GLA models being so closely related to this, plenty of what we're going to go. Here we go. Here we go. So instead of doing that, we have gathered all of that information and we've put it in our incredible. You f***ing bastard, asshole bastard. Now, in terms of features, as you can see by the images, fuck me, the A45, here we go. This is the one. The oil feed line does, why can't I remember what I wrote there? Basically, there's a fault with the turbo oil feed line and it was just, fucking hell. There was a recall and I've lost my way again, sorry. No, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna stop. Okay. Basically, there's a problem with the oil turbo, fucking hell. So sorry, Sam. Feed line has a restriction and it restricts the... I saw you nodding and I thought you were laughing. Oh my God. But there are... fucking hell. There were some recalls for this. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Fucking hell. What a shit show.